I don't always remember that, but I will today. That's the bonus of being here. That's the extra perks you get for this class. So shout out, I can only see, usually in the morning, there's only like 5 or 6 people here that have their, or 6 or 7 that have their profiles, but you could show me by clicking a thumbs up. How many people are in Braden or Summit Hall? Buddy? And are you currently, Eva, are you currently on quarantine?
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. We knew this would happen, right? So I got emailed the other day. You have some students that you need to reach out to. And of course, because I teach a couple giant, 3 big classes and 100 levels, I was like 70 people or something like that. Oh, hold on. Let me let a dog in. Sorry. Get there. Come on, buddy. That's Huckle. He's a great farm dog, but he gets cold fast. There he is. All right. So we knew this would happen anyway, so it's not going to be much different from our class, but I just want you to know, heads up and big love, and if you need anything, just reach out and let me know. Obviously that, doesn't mean that everybody's sick, but we've got people that are, so what's your quarantine consist of? Do you have to stay there? Somebody said yesterday when they quarantined the place, they were out of the building and they were not allowed back in. They had a lizard that they had to feed or something, or a frog or something like that. And so they had somebody, their RA or somebody do it. But what's that like for you? Do you have to stay basically there now for a couple weeks?
Yeah, so what it is they just said like we're not allowed to leave, like go to like classes or go to the dining halls or like any like public places. They just sent out an email yesterday that says we're allowed to like sit outside as long as we're like social distance from everyone or like go on walks, which is good because I can't just like stay in here all day. And they have like a tent because like Summit doesn't have their own like dining hall. We have like a tent outside that they have like food for us. So there's in like different like time slots that you go out and get your food.
All right. Wow. I don't pause too often to be like, everything is so different than it just was, but it is. So, all right. Well, yeah, lots of love and compassion to all the folks that are stuck in or stuck out. But that doesn't change anything for us. So that's what I like, even though, we could have tried to cram us all in a big room or whatever, but that wasn't going to work. So if you need anything extra, I put up an announcement, I think, pretty sure. So yeah, you're allowed to hang out in the lounge, not advisable, but some people have been. Everyone in Laurelville. Oh, so are they providing testing for everyone in the dorms? Okay, good. All right. Well, fantastic. So everybody be safe out there. And I guess that's just sort of the first order of business. Now, we are going to talk about birth order today and siblings, which is always, I think, a really interesting conversation because I'm an only child. That's right. And when I say that in class, I hear like an audible, right? So we're going to talk about birth order. Why do we feel the way that we do? Who's the baby? Who's the oldest one? We had a discussion yesterday, and it was wow. It was awesome. So we're gonna get to that in just a second. So let's run down some basics. I'm gonna need to keep drinking that coffee this morning. Let me tell you what. Let's run down some basics. We don't have a test until October 16th. I know exam, but not until October 16th. So we're good. But by this Thursday, you need to have the rest of your posts. And since I don't want people to post multiple times in the last day or avoid at least the last day as much as possible, everybody chime in today, okay? Once we're done with class, head on over to the discussion board, make a post or two, whatever, make a post tomorrow, and then you'll be ready for that. Also, I think Food Inc., is that what the discussion is right now? Give a thumbs up. I think that's it. Yeah. So that's a good resource or source for your paper as well, for the food paper. So food paper, yeah, I know, not due till November something, 2nd or something like that, but that's, again, right around the corner. I think this is week 6 for us, so that's not Let's not forget that one. And then the next paper isn't due until, I think the 9th. So let's just continue with chapter 4 today, birth order. Then you can be getting into chapter 5. There's some blank space at a couple of the points in the chapter 4 videos that people were telling me about, but then I saw that it picks up with agents of socialization. So I don't think there's really anything missing there necessarily, but I will occasionally, like I said, lecture over a special topic. But let's run down anything else. Any other questions that you have about the class, about how class is going? There's the link up for the food drive, the fire. No, that's, I guess, not associated with our class, but fire was getting pretty big this weekend, and yesterday and today we have some blue skies, at least. Yesterday afternoon, the smoke rolled back in. But any questions about the class? Just want to make sure that everybody's feeling good. I feel like we're into a rhythm now. Anybody?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So in the chapter 4 modules, I'm only seeing 2 videos on there. Are there supposed to be more, or is that it?
No, I think that might be it. And there's, like I said, some blank space I was checking out, but then it does pick up with agents of socialization. Now, chapter 5, there's only one video for. And I think that's on like groups, and that's got primary and secondary groups. And I think that's all, I kind of lecture over that chapter because that goes quick in our class anyway. So chapter 5, I think, only has a lecture too. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I don't see chapter 5 or module 5 in the modules yet. Is that coming up soon?
Let me check. It should be there. And if it's not, then yes, it will be coming up soon. But let me check here. 1, 2, 3. It's just not published. Sorry about that. Yeah, there you go. I see. Okay. All right. I published 6 as well, and 5. I'm not sure why that was unpublished. I don't know. Do you see it now?
I do see it. Thank you.
It's just a click of the button away sometimes. Awesome. Thanks for that heads up. I think there's 2 or 3 videos for chapter 4. Somebody said I think there's 3. Can you explain the food drive? Yeah, I'll explain the food drive. Because really because there is, and the Larimer County Food Bank is pretty great in that they get lots of donations. That being said, my classes every year for the last 13 years have tried to make an impact outside of the classroom. I mean, if we're doing sociology, even if we're on campus in like one of those $5 or $10 million classrooms with a great sound system and comfy seats, there's only so much sociology we can get done, with 4 walls. So I have my students, if they can, donate. And this last spring, it became really streamlined. What happened before is we used to collect food on just 2 days at the very end of the semester, and people would bring down literally thousands of pounds of food. And I think in the fall, which was our last face-to-face drive, we got 7,000 pounds of food. And I think last semester we got $5,000 or $6,000 collected, which for every dollar they can donate 2 meals. So that's like 12 or 14,000 meals that my class has provided. Not me, but all of you. And so we are the largest non-corporate donor for the Larimer County Food Bank. Would be Jason Downing's sociology classes for years and years and years. So I have a thing about feeding people and food, that. I have a feeling that if we know where our next meal is coming from, let alone if it's buffet style or even if they're portioning it out now themselves, we likely not as food insecure as a lot of folks. Now they've had to change the whole way they distribute food. So many more people need it. So you go to the discussion board. There's a link for our class. And so because, this is sociology and I just was talking about culture and competitiveness in our culture, I've made it a 3-way or a 4 or 5-way race. So we're competing with my environmental social class, my other 100. We're competing with my deviance class from Front Range. We're even going to be competing with my health and sociological wellness from Boulder. I'm teaching a bunch of classes this semester everywhere. And then you go there and you can make a donation. I think the minimum donation is like $5 to get full credit. So if you make a donation of at least $5, you'll get 25 points added at the end of the semester. And that is usually enough to really make a difference for folks because it's 25 out of 0 once you put that in there. Or if we get more, I'm willing to go higher. Like last semester, we got 30 or 35 points. So imagine if you wanted an A in this class and you got an 80, an 80, and an 80 on your first 3 exams, right? And you're like, that's closer to a C. Well, take 10 points and put it across the board of the food drive, 10, 10, 10, you got a 90 and 90 to 90. That's the kind of impact that this can make. Now, you can also send that link to your friends and family. Don't rely, like it's a crowdsourcing thing, you know, who can get more money donated so that that's more meals. So you can send the link to friends and family, whatever you like. If you want and you think people would donate, send it to them. All you need to do is donate at least $5. And then those points, and we'll see how much we have, and all the classes will go. And right now, it's kind of like it's going to go along slowly. Towards the end of the semester, it's going to get there fast. And I don't know if anybody's donated. I haven't clicked on it up to this point. Maybe a couple small donations across the board. Now, Jason, I don't want to have to buy sorry, I'm just trying to adjust the light of my camera. I don't have to buy my extra credit. That seems morally wrong. Well, I'm not having you buy your extra credit. If you would like to write a 2 to 4 page paper on poverty and homelessness in Northern Colorado, research-based, that is an alternative that I give. Funny that people can find $50 to drink on any given night, but it's hard to find $5. Now this, I think, makes that much easier, okay? So if you can donate, you donate. If you can't, you can write the paper. And then, so reach out to me for details to that if that's your choice. Otherwise, when I say be good people and do good things, I mean this. We're going to make this community better through our social classes together. And that's just what's going to happen. So I've been working with the Larimer County Food Bank for a while. I think I still have to send them one more link for a class that just started for me today at Front Range. And then now I'm teaching 7 classes. And that's sometimes what your adjuncts and GTAs and pilots have to do on weekends. Lucky, isn't that weird though, on weekends that pilots have to like walk dogs and stuff like that? Like, I don't want to know that. It's okay for you to know that I have an extra job playing music, but I want my pilots to be well paid, even though I'm not flying anymore. All right, anyway, so any more questions about the extra credit? Anything?
Yes, maybe I'm malfunctioning this morning, but I don't see any actual link. I see in the discussions it says extra credit food donation, but I don't see a link to click on or anything.
All right, cool. Let me head over there. And let me check announcements first.
I saw it in announcements and I clicked on that and it took me to the discussion and that's all I see.
Okay, well, let me see. Extra credit on the food bug. Extra. Oh, I see. Okay, so so I just clicked on it, and in there it says there's a green link in there.
Really? No.
Extra credit food donation posts and donations due by December 1st. Larimer County Food Bank.
Yeah, I don't see a link. All I see is the extra credit food donation posts and donations due by December 1st, and then it says this topic is part of an unpublished module and is not available yet.
Part of an unpublished module. I'm looking at it as published, so that's weird. Let me check it out in discussions one more time.
No. I see it as the same like the Alley does.
Unpublished.
No.
Doesn't make any sense to me. Can you see when you click on there? You can't see what it says inside the box?
Yeah, I can see that, but maybe just to double check the modules.
I'm gonna look, but this is in discussion, so I don't know why modules would matter. Check. All right, well, I'll publish that module. Maybe that's.
It just came up. I see it now.
Okay. All right, great. That's so weird that because of a date, I have it in modules just as a link, but it should stand on its own. So it's so weird to have to unpublish that when the discussion thing stands separately, but there it is. So everybody's got it? Are you allowed? Can you click on it now? Allie?
Yeah, I can click on it now and I see the link to foodbanklarimer.org now. So.
All right, there we are. Soch 100-003. Cool. All right. Yeah, just little back end stuff. Awesome. Great. So there it is. If you want to start doing that, you can do that. And I want to make sure that that's the same, I guess, after this from other class. I did drop the top hat questions, or not drop them, but I revealed the top hat questions this morning. Awesome. Okay, good. All right. Modules. And it's so strange that a handful of those aren't published and other ones are, but that's great. Got it figured out. All right. So there's the extra credit. Yeah. Any other questions before we start looking at birth order?
I had a question about the Food Matters paper.
Yep.
So on part 1, when you're like researching the different like ingredients, how long should the explanation be for each of like the 10 ingredients?
I'm okay with like a sentence or two. You know, something real. But again, when you go to look up food ingredients, try Google Scholar. Don't do the first page for that ingredient necessarily. I mean, we want to make sure that, because high fructose corn syrup is a great example. There's going to be lots of stuff that was paid for to place that search where it is. That'll say, not a big deal. Do you know what I mean? Like things that are paid for by producers. So you just want to make sure you're getting a good solid food fact from a good source. So, you know, high fructose corn syrup is commonly used in blah, 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 blah. Here might be some of the drawbacks of it or the health risks of it, and that's it. 2 sentences, citation, and then on to the next one.
So for the citation of that, how do we do it for just like the like 1 sentence that we're using like the source from?
You got to find that 1 sentence somewhere, right?
Okay. Like, are we putting it in our own words, or are we just like citing it like directly?
Well, I wouldn't bother to really put it in your own words. You're finding a couple food facts. They're facts. Those facts need to be cited, and you don't need to figure out a way to retype them or anything like that, I don't think. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank
I don't
you.
want that part to get excessively long. Just like a food fact that you've researched, the citation in parentheses or whatever, and then move on to the next one. Yeah. And really, part 1 is a bit of busy work. I mean, you know, finding the ingredients, setting up the columns, and comparing. It's the part that I think is the easiest part, which is why it's a good thing to complete it first. And then you can kind of get on to the next part, obviously, because there's a lot of research that you'll want to be more quality even than the ingredients in the next parts 2 and 3. Yeah. Good. Any other questions from anybody here today? All right. I'm just gonna, there's something else. Oh yeah, we play at the drive-in tonight. So if you're under quarantine or you're not in Fort Collins, it won't matter. But we play at the drive-in for the FOCO MA folks, Fort Collins Musicians Association, and we're playing with Hazel Miller. She's an incredible African-American woman, blues singer, and they open up, and then we're headlining Musketeer Gripweed. That's the name of the group that I play with in town for the last 15 years. So we're going to be at the drive-in tonight. If anybody wants to come catch a show or do something interesting, yeah, break all the legs. I will. All right, let's look at birth order here. All right. Okay, so let's see how it's broken up here. We had 31 people answer, and we've got 9 of them are first, 10 of them are middle, 10 are babies, and there's only 2, so I'm going to add my number to that. Only 3 only children. So by a factor of 3 times that, and I'm sure plus, if we were to look at everybody else or if more people were responding, we have, that's almost tied, 9, 10, 10. So tell me, all right, let's get into a discussion here. What are some of the expectations or experiences for your birth order? Okay, are you first? Are you the oldest? Are you middle, or are you baby? And I know baby doesn't like to hear that. You can't put baby. Nobody puts baby in a corner. But is that Dirty Dancing? Yeah, it's Dirty Dancing. My son loves that movie. He's into the 80s. All right. So what do you think? What's your birth order? What were some of the expectations of your birth order? What birth order was that? How was that? Are you close to your siblings? Are you far away? Is there 20 years between you? Is there 5? Is there 2? Is it like, so what's the situation? How has, what's your birth order? And what are some of those expectations? Maybe parental expectations or whatever.
I'm the middle child in my family, so I have 2 brothers, which is kind of different from situations.
Hey, hold on, Sophie.
Children.
Could you make sure your mic is okay? It's kind of growling a little bit there, cutting in, cutting out. Sorry.
I don't know if I can fix it.
Okay, all right. So you said you were what? Go ahead again, and we'll try and figure it out.
I'm a middle child, and I have two brothers. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, here, would you type it out?
Yes, I can.
Oh, so sorry. So sorry. I hate to bar you because you're actually participating and it's early and I appreciate that. All right, who else? With 4 older brothers, this is from Eva, with 4 older brothers and the only girl, let's just say I eat last and it's a struggle. Right. Eva, tell us more.
Yeah, so I have 4 older brothers. I've always noticed that I eat a lot faster than all my friends, because if I don't eat fast, then you just don't eat at all.
Wow, for sure. Okay, absolutely. And how many years apart are there between you?
The youngest is just 3 years older than me, and then the oldest is like 35, and I'm 18.
Okay, so that's, wow, almost twice, right?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about this. This seems interesting to me to have 4 older now, and I could be wrong, but when we see something like 3 girls and finally a boy, or 4 boys and finally a girl, it's like the parents are like, I'm gonna get that girl. So,
Yeah, I'm pretty spoiled too. I think it's more like my parents spoil me over, like, it's a fight between the brothers, and then it's like spoiling from the parents.
are you close to any of your siblings particularly?
Yeah, like 1 or 2. I mean, we're all pretty close, but just not as much as some of the others.
Sure, right. All right, and what's it like gender-wise? If you identify with the gender female, and I don't want to make any assumptions, but if you do, what's it like in a house with 4 brothers? What were some particular challenges that you feel like you might have faced?
Well, I can never have a boyfriend.
Because they're looking out for you, or?
Yeah, no. Well, I'm joking. I can't have a boyfriend, but they're just like, it's a joke in my family, just because.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess I have to be more like conservative with what I wear. I don't really care about that, but I guess that's just something I have to think about.
Yeah, different for parents of boys, probably.
Yeah.
I'm a parent of a 12-year-old and a 15-year-old, 2 guys, and I guess that there are times when my friends that have teenage daughters, when we're around, and I'm like, I'm not trying to be judgy here, but holy cow, your daughter's, she's not wearing much. And my friend is like, that's the deal right now. I'm not getting in the way of that. She's expressing herself. So I think that, yeah, the gender differences it's really interesting. Do your brothers, are they ever asked what they're wearing, or has anything like that come up for them, or is it strictly you?
No. Yeah. That never happened to them.
All right. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Let me go back to Sophie quick. Middle child with 2 brothers. Oh, so brothers on either end. All right. Feel like there aren't many expectations for many children, but there are a ton of stereotypes about them getting forgotten. Since I'm the only girl and middle child, I'm the favorite and most spoiled. My brothers and I are all 3 years apart, so we're pretty close. All right. So if you're middle, is the middle thing is like the flying under the radar thing, being forgotten thing, is that like a middle child thing? And folks can type if they don't want to talk to you, could chime in on the side, but yeah, is that you're not forgotten because you're the only girl. But anybody else in here, middle child, sort of flies under the radar, or no?
I'm a middle child and I fly under the radar.
How many kids in your family? What's that look like?
I have a little sister and an older brother.
Okay.
And they both live in New York, and I moved out here, and it's just kind of like, oh, he lives there, and they're always hanging out together, and I'm always here, and I'm just under the radar.
Right. And who's more spoiled?
I would say me, but
Ah,
they forget about me the most. So they
Ah.
spoil me to forget about me.
all right, all right. Let's talk about that once. Like, if you're the baby, let's kind of get into that territory because I think that's pretty typical for what people think of the baby, right?
Yeah.
Like, why is that? Like, do you think your parents just are tired? Or I think it's funny because I hear this over and over from different students. Like, this came up the other day a ton.
I don't know why it's that way. I mean,
Yeah. Mom, Daisy said, I'm the youngest with one sister. We never have an issue with what to wear, and our parents give us a lot. There was expectations that we don't physically fight. My dad is really sweet, and I think it would have been different if there was a boy. Okay. Youngest with one sister. Good. Definitely being the youngest, you can get away with much more. Since I'm the youngest, I'd say my parents don't care much about what I do. I hear that. We hear that all the time. Yeah. Why do we think that is? Why does it seem like the youngest get away with much more? And I need to hear some older brothers and sisters speaking up. Who's the oldest and has had to either raise some other kids or be the responsible one?
I'm the oldest out of my family, even twin-wise. But,
Do you get to play that card?
oh yeah. Oh my gosh. All the time. When you have a twin brother, you gotta use that card all the time.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But, no, so I was the oldest in my family, and, yeah, I would kind of agree with that because, weirdly enough, so I have a twin brother, a sister 2 years younger than us, and then I have a younger sister who is, 7 years younger than us. But, no, it's quite interesting because me and my brother were kind of like the experiment children and like the experiment group, and I think we say like the younger ones get away with more and are more spoiled because you see them get away with things that if you were to do as a kid you would not get away with.
Right?
And just stuff like that. And oddly, hearing from all the middle children here, it's funny because my sister, who's the middle child, is the most spoiled in our family. Like, she's the one racking up the bills for clothes and like anything that's bougie. So I find that really entertaining to hear from other people that's kind of like the same thing. But yeah, it's kind of like I don't know, it's quite interesting because you kind of get to watch your like younger siblings grow up too, and you kind of parent them along the way too. But
Right.
I don't know, it's kind of interesting to see.
Did you say bougie?
Yeah, bougie.
Okay, fill me in. But my son is making breakfast in the background. I'm sure he's laughing at me right now. Storm, do you know what bougie means?
This is one I do not.
He said, this is one I do not. Hold on. So before you explain that, I'm going to ask Storm, who's getting breakfast. Storm, what's the advantages or disadvantages of your birth order? He's the older of two brothers.
It was better for a while and then he was born. So
Did anybody hear that? It was better for a while and then he was born. Ouch. Ouch. All right, good. So back to bougie. Fill me in.
Okay, bougie means like high end, like
Okay, that's
stuff.
what I was,
So like
getting the picture like that.
yeah, so like expensive stuff and all that. But no, I kind of agree with that with the like older thing, and then it kind of derails because, you know, as the oldest, you're fighting over shotgun and stuff like that, and then next thing you know, you have a 16-year-old sister calling shotgun and you're like, whoa, hold the phone.
All right. I do like this one from Daria. I'm the youngest to an older brother, and I personally feel like I have to right his wrongs in some cases. Yes. So oldest was grounded for literally everything. My younger twin sisters used to gang up on me, and now never get grounded for anything I was grounded for. I was totally the guinea pig. Do you feel like you were the guinea pig if you were the older child? Let me hear it.
Yes, absolutely for me. My parents were so overprotective. I got grounded for sleeping with my ceiling fan on because apparently that was dangerous. Like it was a whole new level of being like ridiculously overprotective. I couldn't like wear lip gloss even, like it was nuts. And then, you know, by the time my brothers were 12 or 13, they were doing stuff that I still wasn't allowed to do at age like 18. And I was like, what is going on? And I think part of it was because I was the only female. And also part of it was that I think when parents have their first kid, they're like, oh my God, what do I do? Like they're so fragile. We have to protect everything, you know? And then by the time number 3 rolls around, they're like, yeah, they'll be fine, you know?
I do. And so somebody told us this early on with parenting. They said, here's the difference between 3 kids. Here's what the difference is. The first kid, okay, and you know what, we've talked about this, like what a pacifier is, a binky, a baba, right? I'm looking at James right now. He knows what one is. The analogy is with your first kid, you'll pick that up off the ground and you'll wash it off and then you'll give it back to him. Your second kid, when they drop it on the ground, you'll brush it off and give it to them. And then the third kid that drops it, you'll just tell them to pick it up and they can put it back in their mouth with the dirt on it. Does that sound about right? Yeah. So it's interesting how parents, because this is the perspective now since I'm a parent in here and I'm a professional parent of 15 and 12 years. It's interesting to me that people talk about parents getting tired, trying out things that you've never tried before. Like a lot of parenting is just done on the fly. And so you're hoping that you get it right. And it's kind of like teaching. Like as a parent, I just started off doing things that I liked from my parents and things that I didn't like, I didn't do. Same with teaching. You know, I was going to do the things that I thought made sense to me and not. That being said, yeah, parenting is very different from one kid to the next. All right. My brother and I always fought over shotgun. So my parents had to make a rule. Even day he gets, an odd day I get it. Oh, wow. All right. Mechanisms for keeping the fights down. I have 2 older siblings and we're 4 years apart, but I have a younger sister that's 12 years younger than me. Kylie, what's that like? Or are there some students here, because we had this yesterday, that have some pretty big age gaps between them and the next one?
It's pretty interesting because my older siblings are like 21 and 25 now, and they live in different states.
And
But
you're like
I have a little.
18.
Yeah, I'm 18, and then yeah, it's just weird because it's all like my stepdad and my mom had my little sister, and so that's why it's such like a big age difference. And so it's weird because my dad still treats me like a baby, but then like I'm a middle child at home with my little sister.
Oh, right.
So I have like best of both worlds, basically.
Nice, good. I have an older brother and sister. I'm definitely the most protected. So the baby gets away with the most. Let's hear it. Do we have any only children? Now, have I shared with you yet this semester the only child's prayer? It's hard for me to there's only a few faces. I have not. Is a thumbs up mean I should? I'm going to take a thumbs up as I should put a thumbs up if I should. All right, I'm going to do that. All right. Here's the only child's prayer. Non-denominational, of course. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. And if I die before I wake, I pray the Lord my toys to break so none of the other kids can have them. That's the only child's prayer. Oh. So who in here, because when I even mention the phrase only child, in my classes, like we talk about oldest, we talk about babies, we do all that, and we finally get around to only children, and there's like an audible just, kind of in the room. So for people with siblings, I think a lot of folks don't know what that's like. Oh yeah, Mackenzie, only children are interesting to me. What's that like? We're experiments. No, so any only children, before I lay a couple things out that I think are interesting, are any only children here willing to sort of speak up to their experience? Because I think it's way different. Yeah.
Yeah, I was an only child, so thrilling.
What's your experience? I mean, we're hearing a lot of experiences, but I think that people who have siblings, you and I take for granted maybe what other people wouldn't know. So is there anything that you can think of that might be unique or different or a hang up to being an only child or?
Well, I don't know. It's just like, it was just my experience, and I don't know what it was like to have a sibling. So it's just like, it's not weird to me that I was an only child
Right.
because it was my life. But like, I don't know. I feel like I was definitely spoiled in some ways, but like also I literally could not breathe without my parents like being there and like constantly.
Yep.
Like I could not do anything without my parents like being aware. So I was in trouble all the time for like stupid stuff
Right.
that like I could not even imagine people getting in trouble for. Like I was just always in trouble. And I was like, literally, I'm not even doing anything. But yeah.
Yes. Somebody wrote parent watch 24/7. Yeah. So I think that's an interesting thing. Yeah. Like when you have multiple siblings, your parents they've got to put some differing amounts of attention on everybody. Somebody might fly through the radar. Your parents might be more tired with the third or fourth or fifth kid. They might be really, I would say the experience might be closest to the first child because your parents are sort of navigating that for the first time. But yeah, you also spoke to another thing, which is that that there's a watchful eye on you all the time. And so that is definitely one thing about being an only child. There's some amounts of being spoiled, but it's interesting to me because I'm just going to lay it out there on the line. Now that I'm a parent of a 12-year-old and a 15-year-old boy, and as they're growing up, I mean, people talk about only children being spoiled, but I have seen my two boys almost murder each other for a stale Cheeto. And so I don't know. That doesn't happen with only children. So, but yeah, I think that you're under the watchful eye, and they just put you under that radar, in that radar, because if something great happens, that's you. And if something bad happens, you can't just look at the dog and blame the dog. Like there's no other way to defer. It's just sort of you. I'm an only child, spend a lot of my time with my parents, pretty spoiled. Haha, my parents aren't really helicopter parents, but they're still more protected than some of my parents. Jordan, what's your, if you're willing to unmute your mic or talk about it, what's your experience with your relationship with your parents? Like, do you think you're maybe closer to your parents than some folks?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely super close to my mom, not so much my dad, but my mom and I are like two peas in a pod. We're together almost all the time. And like I'm in quarantine right now at my house just because I was like exposed to COVID from like one of my friends. And my mom has just been like constantly coming into my room like, are you good? Like, are you good?
Yeah, so there you're speaking to another kind of thing that I thought, or I think of when I think of my relationship or my experience as an only child. And that's you're with your parents a lot. And so since you're not having those sibling bonds, you have some experiences with your parents that are a bit different than I would think of siblings. Maybe a bit closer, and certainly in some ways more independent. What do you think? From only children in here that have been speaking up, this quarantine thing, for me, like Julie has said stuff to me several times, like, how can you stand this? And I'm like, dude, I can do 6 more months sitting on my head. Because when you're growing up, you learn to play on your own a lot. And of course, the other thing, I think you have really, really close friends as an only child, because you make these bonds that are a bit tighter with people, maybe because you don't have siblings. But the other thing is, I could go for hours and hours and days and days and days and just entertain myself out here on the farm. And, if I run into other people, fine. And of course, I miss people and I need people, but I think there's a greater capacity for that. What do you think out here? I'm an only child. Aaron said, with my parents really relaxed with me like I was one of the boys. We have a very friendship type relationship. Yeah, and that line obviously you can cross that line sometimes a little easier when you're an only child. My siblings were making me lose my mind during quarantine. So there's the flip side of only children can do quarantine a little easier would be, yeah, people with siblings, maybe they're driving you, nuts there. Allie Owens, 2020 has been the year for introverts and only children to shine. I think so. I think so. All right, good. Other thoughts on birth order, how it's impacted your life, maybe as compared to other people, or anything else about birth order, your order, how your family deals with things, what it's like now. Has anybody got, like, maybe your older brother and sister were so much older than you, but now that you're 18 or approaching 20, maybe they're 40, but now you have a different relationship that's not quite so child-adult, or anything else?
I think the relationship that I have with my brother is like a little bit different than most people. So my brother, he's 2 years older than me, but he still lives at home because he's going to like college like in our town, but he's still living at home. And like my brother and we have like very different personality types. Like I'm more social. I need to be like moving all the time, but my brother can just like be in his room all day and like watch movies and stuff like that. So like especially during like quarantine, it was so weird because I would feel like I was home alone the whole time. But like my brother would be in his room like the whole day, or it'd be like sometimes where like I thought he was home and I would like had a question or something, so I'd go in his room and like he actually wasn't there, but I didn't know or
I
anything.
had no idea.
Because like we just like we've never been like super close. Like when we were younger, we used to like play together, I guess, more, but like in like high school and stuff, like I would like go like some days without like seeing him at all, which is like kind of weird because we lived in the same house, but like I still wouldn't see him.
Right. Yeah. All right. So yeah, the difference between maybe introverted or extroverted siblings. And then of course there's just that teenage piece where you could be in your room for days. I don't know. Sometimes I just see Storm when he like gets food stuff. And then if he really packs up on food stuff, I might not see him for like a long time. So I go down there and just knock on the door, make sure he's all good. Yeah, even with just two, I think you parent differently between first and second, even if you don't have 3 or 4. Who's got a big family here? Who's got what they consider to be a really big family? A lot of siblings, not like 1 or 2 siblings, 4, 5, 6 siblings, more. Anybody in here? 1 of 6. Tell us about it, Madison, if you don't mind, if your mic is working.
Yeah, so I'm like the 4th of 6. And so I'm like on the younger end of the middle kid, I guess, because there's me and my brother. And my oldest sister is 10 years older than me. And they're actually all my step siblings, but we're really close because so I was an only child until I was like 5. So that was like, I don't remember like being an only kid at all. And
right.
I couldn't imagine a life without like all my siblings. So.
Right. Yeah. Good. Interesting. Okay, good. And I don't know. It's interesting. I can't really imagine what it would be like as an only child to have 5 other siblings. My partner, Julie, there's 4 of them, and they're all 5 years apart. So I think not only order, but what's the spacing like? So her older brother is like 10 or 15 years older than her, 15 or something. So they don't really know each other much. And her older sister is just like awful to her, and she's 5 years older and she's not interested in her. Her younger sister used to tell on her all the time, and they're finally kind of starting to get a little closer. So it's interesting because I would say to Julie, when I was a kid, I didn't say, I want brothers and sisters. The older I got, I was like, yeah, I would have loved to have some siblings. That would be cool as my parents get older to have some siblings. And Julie would say to me, just because you have siblings doesn't mean that you are friends with them or have anything in contact or common with them whatsoever. So you could have 2 or 3 or 4 siblings, but the ages are such, or the design is such that you really don't have anything in common with them. So you're kind of on your own anyway, even though there's other folks around. I'm curious. I've never asked you before. Do you have any brothers and sisters?
No, I'm the only child.
Yes. All right. Sorry. Maybe I did know that. Maybe I did know that from last year. I'm not sure, but okay. All right. So you're the only as well. So there's 4 or 5 of us onlys here. All right. Anybody else have that experience? Your brothers and sisters, like even though they're there, they're not, you're just not good friends with them. Is that an age thing? Or you're maybe more of the loner, anything like that?
Yeah, actually, I have an older brother and sister, and my sister's 19. She's almost 20, and she goes to CU Boulder. And my brother is 22, something like that. I don't even remember. He's either 21 or 22 because I know he can drink. And he goes to ASU. So we're all out west, Arizona State.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So we're all out west, and I'm super close with my sister. Like we hang out all the time. Like we'll drive back and forth between Boulder and here and hang out. But I'm not super close with my brother.
Right.
And I think it's mainly because for me, he's 4 years older than me. Like when we were younger, it was a huge difference. So we never really got along ever.
Right.
We were always fighting, and he would always, it's like he's a very controlling person. Like he likes to be in charge all the time and tell people what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's mainly what kind of made us not get along very well, is just he was always like trying to tell people what to do and starting fights because he likes pushing people's buttons.
Right. All right. So now you said something that was interesting to me, and that is, and I think that this is true overall, that when you're younger, those age differences seem so huge. But once you hit 30 and somebody's 34 or even 40, the difference between 30 and 40 just isn't the same as between 10 and 20. Right?
Yeah, because we're kind of at that age where we're both sort of going through the same experiences at the same time.
Right.
Like he's still in college. He's getting his master's or some type of CPA, I believe.
Right.
And so we're all kind of like, I'm starting college and starting to, actually be in real life a little bit. And he's also starting to do that same thing as well. So I think the older we get, like the more and more we go through sort of the same experiences.
Right. Good. Thanks, man, for sharing. Good. Sister's 5 years older than me. We're like that. We occasionally see each other. It's interesting. And then I'm also wondering, like, there might be just some families that are unusually close. I have a family, my aunt and my uncle, he's a pediatrician, Catholic family. They've got 6 kids, but all of them, and now all of those kids have like 2 or 3 or 4 kids, and all of them in that family, though they're different and they know the birth order thing, and I don't want to lump that all together, but all of them are really close, like just really, really close. The whole family pals around together, and then I know that there are some families that are like, just because of interest wise, right? Like somebody doesn't have the same interests as the rest of their family or something like that. But somebody put here, my whole family is very close. Yeah, good. It's just interesting to me. Some families seem to be like, even though they're really big, they're really close. Anybody in here with more than 6 kids total? Part of a family that's even bigger than that? No? Okay, yeah. Sometimes I run into my classes to things that are, 6 is already 2 is so much different than what I experienced. But for people in a family of 4 or 5, maybe not. And of course, our family sizes are changing, right? My mom's family, they had 6 kids, but that was, I think, 4 or 5, 6 kids, more typical 30, 40, 50 years ago than it has become here in this culture over the last 20 or 30 years. So yeah, my mom worked with a lady who had 17 kids. I really don't know what to say to that. That's incredible. Yeah, good Lord. How would you, I don't even, as an only child, I can't even imagine.
Imagine interviewing them, like all the middle kids, and they're like, don't even get me started.
I wonder with 17 if there's like 5 babies and 5 oldest ones and 5 middle kids.
Yeah, they all just group up.
Or if you just get to be oldest and youngest, and then there's 15 people that are the middle kids. Anyway, all right, awesome. Well, look, obviously we're talking about this because your birth order and your relationship with your siblings and your parent and how that works is like absolutely matters for how you form your personality. We know this chapter that nature, people say nature versus nurture, but nurture is our nature, right? We are social human beings. We cannot survive without other people. Our development mentally and physically, for people who have been in those cases of extreme isolation, we will not develop past a certain point. So human beings is really one of the big points of this chapter. Human beings need other human beings, and their influence in our life, is huge for who we become. And then we haven't even talked about yet, like I saw an article the other day that's talking about how 3 parents and 4 parents are becoming like a more common theme. So what happens if you don't just have 2, if each parent divorces and remarries, and now you've got a whole other set, right, of people that that are now in your life having these big influential moments? Because we asked who was the most influential in your life, and almost everybody in this class was like mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, few brothers and sisters, but it was so far in your life, you know, some of the most influential people are the people in your family because you've spent a lot of time with them. And I think Brandon said, you know, now that I'm out on my own or starting this next chapter of life, and I think that those chapters are, you know, are very different. Yeah, interesting. Okay. Anybody else? Anything from chapter 4 as we kind of wrap it up, talking about this birth order piece? I released the other questions. Do you consider Olive Garden fast food? What is meant by the McDonaldization Society? Which of the following would you like? More primary relationships, less? We're going to talk about primary groups, secondary groups, and those relationships. I go pretty quick through chapter 5. And then I think chapter 6 is deviance. And I've got those videos there. Wore my favorite dominatrix outfit, like I said. So once you get to those videos, well, you know, I'll just let you find those videos for yourself. But deviance is something I want to spend a lot of time on because it is one of my most favorite sociological topics, and I think for a lot of social folks it is. Any other questions, any other reminders, anything else? This is actually a nice class meeting this morning. So far, 52 minutes. Not bad for us. I will post this to YouTube. You have access to the food drive. Yeah, make sure that you just go straight from here to the discussion board and reply to a couple people's discussions or posts and stuff like that, so you can get that. Those are easy points. Couple reminders. One, vote. I'm going to keep saying that every class period, but I did get an email the other day from the school, how to talk to students in a neutral way, and you know, all those good things. And of course, maybe I'll just copy that and paste it, because there were links there for how to register to vote, how to get your absentee ballot, how to do that. So I guess I'll end class today by all these things that is like vote, pay your taxes. That'd be a good idea. And I will see you on Thursday. Any other? Also, if your dorm is on lockdown, you're amazing and doing awesome. Yes. If you are in quarantine, you know I love you. And if you have any questions, just rely on other people. That's what we do as human beings. Any further questions or comments before we wrap up this morning? I will take one last long sip of my coffee. So that's
yes, I have one. So in the modules, I know that like most classes are on like module 6, because that kind of lines up with week 6. But is that which one we're on? Because I noticed that module 5 is like for discussion 3, and that's not due for a long time. Is there a certain module that we're supposed to be on right now?
You know, the discussions are going to hook up with all sorts of things we're studying. So here's why we just don't plow through like other classes, because this is Soc. If we get into a good discussion, if we take our time a little bit to get to a chapter, I don't want to have to roll necessarily, Brendan, through a chapter just like every class period or every week necessarily. So we're about at that point.
Okay.
I'm encouraging people to get into chapter or module 5 now. So, you know, just follow our pace, but that doesn't, the modules aren't going to line up with every single discussion.
Yeah.
Just in some cases. But we are going to be applying what we know about or to the discussions from what we've learned in all the different modules. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I do think we have a bit more of an organic process. What we know is the exam is October 16th, so we're going to cover this information between now and then.
Hey, it's my birthday.
What'd you say?
I said, hey, that's my birthday. I feel like I always have some big exam on my birthday because it's at that time, kind of like midterm.
All right, but I'm going to give you 24 hours. You can take it on Saturday.
Yeah.
Because here's my deal, Brandon. I feel with you on this one. I'm a Leo only child, and I have never gone to school or worked or gone to a job or anything on my birthday that I did not want to do because I have a summer birthday. So I feel like you should do your birthday on Friday. And then, well, how old are you going to be?
19.
19? I turn 20 next birthday.
Oh, you're going to turn 20?
Yeah, just about.
That's what my mom always says. She's like, no matter how old I am, I'm just going to say that I'm like older so that everybody's like, oh, you look great for your age.
Hey, that's not a bad idea. See, like cultural values here. Why does everybody go young? I might go older. That's a good idea. Hey, I'm 63, but still maintaining these bright red sides, even though this is getting washed out a little bit. This is just making me a Jedi right here, a little bit more of a Jedi. All right, everybody. Be good people and do good things. And I really do hope you're having a good time in this class. Please reach out to me with anything, absolutely anything you need. No stress. Yeah, and that's it for today. Take care, everybody. Peace. Be well. Reach out to me if you need anything. Thanks for showing up this morning.
Thank you.
Bye. Peace.